Welcome. In this video, we have another trade breakdown on NZD USD for a 67 pip take profit, risking 16 pips, which netted an overall 4.19 R. The way we're going to go about this is the only way we know how, which is multi-time frame analysis and structure the right way. And let's go over it. So what do? We start on the monthly, and on the monthly time frame, what can we identify? We have just made this move to the upside, and we should expect some correction back down in here. Why back down in here? Because if we look at this pattern that I have spoke about plenty of times, what you want to see is the market come back and retest this previous structure resistance right in here and see it act as support. So on the monthly, we also have this bearish candle was created, and it is extreme bearish pressure to the downside. So that is a lot of bearish pressure, bearish sentiment to the downside. And if we look at it, that candle has eclipsed not only one candle, two candles, but three candles. It has eclipsed 3 monthly candles with this one bearish candle. So that is extreme bearish pressure to the downside. That's an extreme bearish sentiment. And if we look recently, what do? We have 2 bullish candles that did and is now completing the retracement on this momentum to the downside. So we had extreme momentum to the upside, then we showed extreme momentum to the downside indicated by this big bearish candle, and then we had thus created our way all the way back up to this area where we have failed to break above previously multiple times. So we do have structure resistance in this area, and we are currently retesting it. If we drop down on the weekly, what can we identify? On the weekly, first thing that should pop out is that you see some levels in here. And what levels do you see? Well, this level, Y. One of my favorite patterns, we have a shoulder here, we have a head here, and then we do have some retests right around in this area, indicating that all of this zone right in here is some sort of area of importance for big players. So for the banks and institutions, they are looking at this level for orders to go ahead and place some orders. It is prime real estate for them. Also on the weekly, what can we identify? That we are currently creating impulse, correction, impulse, and corrections to the upside. If we were going to come for some sort of retracement or exhaustion, which we know that the market needs to do, it can't go in one direction forever, where would it most likely come to? Well, it would most likely come to this previous structure resistance that should now act as support. Let's go ahead and draw that out. We'll identify that right there. So we can expect that if the market does want to break this area to the upside, you can see on the weekly we have a extreme wick getting rejected from the upside from the highs. Once it did break the highs, it did get rejected very aggressively to the downside, and then provided that move that broke multiple levels of structure on the weekly. But we are trapped in this area between previous structure resistance that should now act as support and previous structure resistance that is currently acting as resistance. So if we were going to break this area and we were going to come for a little exhaustion before we did make our move to the upside, we would more likely come back down to this area right in here. So we can expect some bearish pressure, some more bearish pressure from these highs over here. Dropping down on the daily, what can we identify? As you see, this pattern is a little more in detail, that this level is a big level as far as what we want to see in the market respecting structure. So on the daily, if we do zoom in just a little bit to get a little more detail, keep the charts clean, what can we see? That we do have our most recent previous structure resistance right in this area. What we have, we followed the market made a move to the upside, then broke this structure to the downside, came back for a retest, got rejected to the downside, and then we have broken above this area. And same thing again on lower time frames. The market is just a fractal, which is the same thing repeating over and over and over. But we would like to see the market come back down to this area. So not a full reversal, as we are pretty high on the chart. So we've been making higher highs and higher lows, but we can expect some corrections on this market, and that's where we can take advantage of it. What do we have? We just don't want to sell blindly. We have a market that has just made its way up, and we've recently tapped into this area of structure resistance that we want to see act as resistance again. So it was resistance over here. We want to see it act as resistance again, just respecting the market. And what do we have so far is that the market did go ahead and push into this level with this bullish candle, and then rejected it, coming back down. And then the next candle tried to push and got a little higher, but then got rejected. And on the daily candle, we closed with a bearish candle. So all the sentiments of the day, the Asian session, the London session, New York session, they all decided to close the day and end the day bearish. So we can expect that the big players are starting to put in their shorts in the market and want to see a little correction after we've had this extreme impulse, because we know the market cannot go in one direction forever. So dropping down on our entry time frames, we see that this is the previous structure resistance that we want to see come and get retested. Once the market did break above this area, we stayed above this area. Once the market broke below this area, we stayed below this area. So if we do come back down in this area again from the upside, we can expect to bounce back up to the upside. Unless it is broken to the downside, then we can expect further continuation for the bears if this level is broken. So we can expect that the price in this area, we can anticipate that the price, this area right in here, is going to attract the price. So we want to see the price come back down in there. We want to see the market come back and retest that level. So now on the 4-hour time frame, how can we look for an entry on this market? Well, we just had the daily close that closed below this structure, and I'm going to point this pattern out once again. We've had the level in the market that was found, some resistance in here, a little consolidation, but we did break above that level and then immediately broke back into the range underneath this structure resistance. So if we do come back and retest this level, we can expect that it is going to act as structure resistance, because we're coming to this level from the downside, and we can see further continuation to go ahead and hit our TP. So if we look at Telegram, we can go ahead and see that the signal was sent out at 5:30 NZD USD sale. I think I did send it out on the hour time frame, so we'll drop down to the hour time frame. And what can we identify here? Well, if we go back to the 4-hour really quick, we can see that the price action on the 4-hour is not the same on the 1 hour. I mean that the candles and all the price did the exact same thing, but it doesn't look exactly the same. This doesn't look like structure's left shoulder that was failing to break above and then a clean break above. Well, it does look like a clean break above and a break below. But as you can see, that I want to highlight that the higher time frames triumph your lower time frame. So we were showing some wick rejections in this area on the 4-hour time frame, then we broke back above it and then continued to break below it. On the hour time frame, it just looks like a bunch of consolidation, double top rejecting, trying to induce you to sell this market in order to just go ahead and collect some more orders at the highs in order to sell later, and just confuse you. But I want to just highlight and reiterate the fact that the higher time frames triumph the lower time frame. So weekly and daily, and found that we've had a bearish bias in order to look for a trade to the downside on this market. Then we drop down on our 4-hour just to confirm with some patterns as far as market structure, and price action is confirming what we like to see. So more bearish action. If we played a little forward on the hour time frame, because I think that the 4-hour candle, okay, so once this 4-hour impulse completed, actually made its way all the way to the downside, what can we identify? That we had a structure right in this area. Oh yeah, I was reiterating the fact that your higher time frames triumph your lower time frame. So on your higher time frames, on our 4-hour time frames, we saw that this was some structure, this was some left shoulder. We want to make it simple, this was the head, and this should be acting as the right shoulder. We did get the break below. Price came and retested this area briefly and then rejected all the way to the downside, but it's not a full retracement. So the price came and just spiked in this area and got rejected, but it's not a full retracement or exhaustion or correction that we would like to see if the market does come in this area, get rejected. So going down on the 1-hour time frame, what can we identify? That if we take our Fibonacci from the high to the low of this move, we can identify that the 618 is lining up perfectly with this left shoulder. We want to see the right shoulder come and get rejected from this area. We also have in between the 50 and 618 is prime real estate in order to go ahead and get triggered into this market. So a little golden zone right in there. As you can see that we did break structure to the downside. We broke below the structure support that was holding, came back and retest. So if we come back in this area, it should act as resistance once again. We go ahead and look for our trade setup. So if we identify that this is a pretty good area to go ahead and get in, and we look and we see that we have our stop loss somewhat protected. I mean, it is protected by our Fibonacci. We have our stop above the 786, which we know the 786 is the last level that the market would incur if it does want to continue this trend to the downside. So if it does break above that, we don't want to be in the trade anyway. We do have it above these wicks, somewhere testing above these daily highs as well. So now we can look for our target. Our target is found on our higher time frame. So if we zoom out on the daily, where did we draw our previous structure resistance that should now act as support right in this area? So we put our take profit down in that area, and then we can identify and adjust where our entry wants to be and our risk to reward parameters from there. So now that we got our stop and our take profit down in this area, let's go ahead and check it one more time. NZD sale 728, and we want to put our stop loss at 7296 with a take profit at 713. Let me go ahead and make that exact. So at 728, we have our stop loss at 7296, and then we have our take profit down here at 7213. So what do we do now? We let the market play out. We've already set our limit and did everything that we need to do. This is trading. Now we have our free time to go do what we do, and we just let the market work. So we'll play it forward on the hour. See, we got triggered into this market, consolidated around the entry a little bit, was being held by this structure support for a little moment, but then once we broke below that, it was pretty much game over. Price plummeted to the downside, and it was a pretty easy trade to go ahead and sit through and ride. I think that this was some USD news, some positive USD news that came about, because these are some really big candles with a lot of volatility. So that is it. If you would like to go ahead and learn how I take these trades and how I do my analysis and get into these trades like this example here, the link in the description will go ahead and take you to that, as well as if you would like to trade with me or take these trades with me, you want to get in the Telegram chat where I send all these trades out. And the link is in the description as well, so go ahead and check that out. I think my program is a pretty full program. I update you every single day on what pairs are matching the strategies that are in the program to the T every single day. I also answer all the questions that you ask every single day, and then you also have the opportunity to trade with me and take the trades that I take every single day with the exact entry, stop loss, and take profit. So I do think that it is a pretty good opportunity in the description down there for you. But other than that, I hope you have a profitable day on and off the chart. And until next time, I holla.